There is that element when you're talking to an AI that it's just easier and a little more free-flowing. And then we edit it. We make it into this really succinct story. Some people are awesome at conversation and they get deep, but most people aren't. So Sam does not interrupt you. Sam does not judge you. Sam is a robot.
Welcome to You, Me, and the GPT, a podcast to explore humanity's latest thrill ride, artificial intelligence. AI is moving faster than anything we've seen. The more it promises to save us time, the less time we seem to have. And most of us are so busy trying to not get left behind that we haven't stopped to ask a very human question. What is this actually doing to us? So today I'm bringing in someone who is asking that. Leora Katz is the co-founder of the Real Human Project, a platform that uses AI to help people open up to each other in ways they normally don't. We sat down for a long conversation about building something weird, beautiful, and potentially radical. So, buckle up, because whether you're an AI enthusiast, a cautious observer, or just someone who's wondering how close we are to the edge of our very own Jurassic Park moment, this episode is for you. Let's talk about AI, the awe, the anxiety, and the unexpected ways it's shaping our world.
And the GPT.
You, me, and the GPT. You, me, and the GPT.
You, me, and the GPT.
Did you know you can't spell Jurassic Park without AI? You might be going, Brad, what does Jurassic Park have to do with AI? Well, experts warned that AI is hurtling forward at speeds that outpace our readiness and is, quote, redefining jobs, reshaping education, and revolutionizing society faster than ever before. The catch? Just like Dr. Malcolm feared with genetic engineering, several startups have harnessed a power they didn't fully earn or understand. They've built AI systems that could pass the SATs and write software and mimic human creativity, but have they truly considered the ramifications?
I don't think you're giving us our due credit. Our scientists have done things which nobody's ever done before.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
In our rush for innovation, have we forgotten Ian Malcolm's crucial warning that just because we could doesn't mean we should? Well, unless you've been under a rock or completely off of social media or not talking to anybody recently, you might know these companies that aren't just building large language models. They're building myths. They're selling a story. Every week there's new memes, there's new use cases, and they're telling us that this is the future, that this is inevitable. And they're saying that, like, if you're not on board, you're a dinosaur. I think this is especially true on LinkedIn, where I see a bunch of people trying to sell these courses on how to build AI agents and optimize their workflows in marketing and how I run a 10-person marketing team with one AI agent. But let me let you in on a little secret. Not every problem needs a team of AI agents or a 500 billion parameter solution. And honestly, not every job needs to be done faster. I don't think that every ounce of productivity that you have is worth trading in for the illusion of scale. You don't have to be the founder, CEO, chief marketing officer of your own company, because the point of work, and this is the type of work I do, creative work, it's never been about the output. It's been about the process. It's been about the people. It's been about the connection. To quote the Brutalist, it's been about the journey, not the destination. I always thought the most exciting thing about being in a writer's room or in any creative environment, whether that's on set or at a startup, is the slow, strange, weird, wild, and wonderful act of people getting together to make things, of different perspectives firing synapses together to create. The way that production is supposed to work is not an executive handing an AI-generated pitch that is technically good, that has read every book from Save the Cat to Sid Field and back again and has clean beats and passable dialogue. That feels like something that's been reverse engineered from a focus group. And we already have enough of that. We have, to quote Martin Scorsese, Marvel movies. People don't want to watch a hologram pretend to have childhood trauma. And It's not that Netflix is bad. It's not that Marvel movies are bad. It's not that a script created by AI is bad. It's just that they don't care. They don't feel. They don't have new exciting ideas. And that's the part that no one's marketing. They're marketing the memes. They're marketing a feeling, but it's also the loss of feeling, because when work becomes soulless, people follow. And when creativity becomes synthetic, the audience knows. Go on any social media platform right now, and everything feels the same. I could tell. I could tell that everybody is using the same prompts. I could tell that everybody is just copy and pasting ideas that are engineered to serve an algorithm. And yes, they're getting in front of people. But what is the point? What is the point of getting in front of people if what you're getting in front of them is meaningless? And I want to extend an invitation. I want to ask you to comment or at us or do whatever people do and tell us about your most human moment this week. It could be at work, it could be with your family, but something that reminded you why being with other humans matters. Or, just share this episode with someone who maybe feels the same way. Because I don't think that our future has to be binary. It doesn't have to be written in code. It doesn't have to be all ones and zeros. I think that it should be written in connection. Thoughts? I don't know. I have an incredible guest on the podcast today. She is a friend and someone who has been thinking deeply about the same questions I was just circling, which are, what happens to human connection in an AI-saturated world? Her name's Leora Katz, and she's a co-founder of the Real Human Project, which is a company that started as this weird art project during COVID, but now has transformed into a podcast studio, a connection mechanism, a startup that is so much bigger than art. Together with her partners, Leora built an AI podcast interviewer named Sam, who is a robot, but Sam doesn't interrupt, Sam doesn't judge, and somehow Sam makes people say things they'd never say out loud in a normal conversation. Sam is driving this deeper human connection, and the results have been, well, Leora will tell you about it, but I did this. We have another video where I did it in a Waymo. It's weird. You get lost in it. So in our conversation, Leora and I talk about how that happened, why it matters, and what it says about the future of how we communicate, not just with machines, right? But with each other. And so this one is honest. This one is weird. This is the first one. Remember. So it's emotional. We cry. No, we don't. But it is surprisingly hopeful. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Leora Katz from the Real Human Project. I hope you enjoy. This is, again, You, Me, and the GPT. We were just talking about how Real Human started as this art project. Mm-hmm. You guys started this art project, and whose idea was it?
It wasn't my idea. I will say that. Pema and Noah, my two of my other partners in this, were talking about it before I was speaking about it with them. And they brought me into it being like, hey, we have this thing we're trying. And I believe what they wanted at the time, if I remember correctly, was they wanted me to listen to their episodes. They're like, we created our episodes and we would love for you to listen to them. Because we used to work together and you know us well, tell us if listening to these episodes is different from the thousands of coffees and beers and walks that we've had in the past. So that's where it started from. They wanted my opinion on the episodes. And they also at that time sort of had this insight that if you could not only listen to somebody, but you could respond to someone, like leave an audio response for someone, that would be a really crucial part to the connection. And so that's what they wanted me to try. But
how do you take something from art project to company? What does that look like? And how do you make that decision?
First, you have to see if there's a there, right? You have to see if you think that you're doing this experimentation and is there something there? And if it is, then you can start to to do more with it.
And that makes it feel official.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. We needed a developer, and Brian, who's our other co-founder, he started up at that time as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you guys have this art project. You decide there's something here.
Yeah.
Because you think that it's a thing that's going to connect teams more.
We don't sit around and talk about important things all the time. Even when we were in our early experimentation phase, I got one of my best friends, Lexi. We've been friends forever. Record an episode. I was like, hey, can you just, I need more opinions on this thing. And she recorded an episode. And so I listened to hers, and I learned more about Lexi in that 15-minute episode than I honestly had in a few years of conversation. We talk a lot, but we talk about what we're doing this weekend and what's up with our kids. And oh my God, my kid was sick and my kid keeps waking up in the middle of the night. And oh, tell me about your job. And especially because we don't live in the same city. So it's not like we have that casual interaction all the time.
Right.
And so I sat there listening to Lexi, and we just don't ask each other the questions that open up this realm of conversation. And Sam, our AI interview host, asks those questions. And not only does Sam ask those questions, but Sam is not a person. So Sam does not interrupt you. Sam does not judge you. Sam is a robot. And so people kind of get lost in their heads. They just talk. If they make a mistake, they stop and start again. They say, oh, wait, let me say that again. Sam asks a question. The person might sit there in silence thinking for 30 seconds before they answer, which you would never do in a conversation. So what we ended up getting was this real kind of deep thought from someone. And a lot of people would tell us, whoa, that was therapeutic. That was cathartic. Like, people would use these words and we're like, should we pivot and become a therapy app? We haven't. But there is that element of when you're talking to an AI that it's just easier and a little more free flowing. Right. Some people are awesome at conversation and they get deep, but most people aren't.
Something about us as humans, as communicators, as whatever we are, I don't immediately sit down for coffee and say, Leora, tell me about a great teacher.
Yeah.
But I think the cool thing about Real Human is this idea that, well, it might take me years to feel comfortable enough with a coworker or a boss or somebody to ask them those questions.
I guess what we didn't touch on was there's value in knowing these things about someone, because if you have someone at work that maybe you don't connect with, maybe you even butt heads a little bit, if you understand them more deeply, it changes. If you're a manager and you have somebody who reports to you and for some reason you can't get through to them and you feel like they're slacking, and then you hear them tell a story about how someone in their family has cancer and it's taking up their, like, it changes how you interact with them because you just understand their experience more. It changes the relationship. You can be more empathetic.
Which I think we can all be a little more empathetic.
For sure.
These days, especially, because it's very interesting to think about, because the whole thing too is like you're forging this human connection through a robot.
I would love to at some point this year come back to the AI portion of it, because, oh my gosh, AI changes so fast.
It's crazy.
Like, so fast that, like, I actually think we're a little behind now because we haven't made like tremendous updates to it. We've been changing other parts of the product. So now I look at our AI and I'm like, it's a little behind. Like, I think that quite soon we'll have to do a whole revamp to Sam, because when we first launched the AI interviewer, for most people, and it still is, but for most people, it was actually their first time doing anything like that with AI.
No way. That's so weird to think about now.
Now it's crazy because everyone's using ChatGPT, but for most people in our first year or two, they had never done anything with AI, let alone like audio conversation. That's not the case anymore.
No.
The company is called the Real Human Project, and we came up with that name when we were using a real human interview.
Would you ever want to bring real humans back, do you think?
That's a great question. And I think, yes, I do think so. We've talked a lot about one type of podcast which we offer, which was clearly our bread and butter and where we started. And that is the type of podcast that connects people together. You tell the story of who you are. But what has happened since is we started to get clients coming to us saying, hey, can we tell other types of stories using Sam? So you can come on and you can create your podcast in our virtual podcast studio, and you can say, okay, now I'm going to invite Jim. I'm going to put Jim's email address in, and I'm going to assign Jim the sales podcast. And we have like customer success podcast where somebody on like customer success team can tell the story of a client relationship that's going really well. And guess what? That's really interesting for someone on the engineering team to hear and someone on the product team to hear. And so you have all these silos. I don't love that word.
But it's a word that gets used in corporate
And you have all
America.
the silos, and everyone has their information in their own head. And what we unlock is the ability to cheaply and easily tell your stories in a way that your employees actually want to engage with.
Right.
It's not just about the get to know you episodes. It's also about all these other types of interviews.
Oh, that's actually very cool because I did just the regular get to know you episode.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting for me to do because I had heard so much about it. And I'm not a person who likes to talk about myself. I said that in the video that we did, which I think is hilarious. Now, I've ended up talking here in this podcast format, but it's not about me. I really want to learn about other people. But when I was talking with Sam, I was like, oh, why is this valuable for work? The hometown you grew up in. Those sorts of things. So I like this idea that you've got different versions.
Yeah. And our Get to Know You podcasts, if you're people first leader who on your to-do list every day is like, how do I improve my company culture? How do I connect people in this age of remote work? Great. You're going to buy this podcast. But if you're not, if you're more like, I'm a sales leader and I have this bottom line and I have some problems getting there. Yeah, I want my team to connect for sure, but that's down here. And so just from a business perspective, us offering other types of episode formats that kind of more obviously check a box for people, it's good for business. We have to do that.
So what's the future? What's the future of the Real Human Project? Is there anything big happening?
You asked me, might we ever go back to doing interviews with a real person? And my answer to that is I kind of hope we do one day because there's limitations to AI, right?
Right.
Like we have to have pretty tight guardrails in our prompting and on our creation of Sam in order to make sure that Sam asks the questions that we need to be asked so that person can tell the story that they're there to tell. We can't just let the AI do its own thing and run off on a tangent. And so we talk about sometimes that if we're a virtual podcast studio, which is what we are now, then wouldn't it be cool if people could decide, yeah, I want the package where it costs me like $140 an episode because it's using an AI host. But maybe for some episodes, I actually want one of Real Humans, like real person interviews.
Whoa.
And so maybe one
that.
day we will do that. And what's in store for the Real Human Project? We're trying to grow. We're trying to learn. We're trying to get out there. We want to keep experimenting with different companies and different formats of interviews. And
I realized AI has been around forever. It still feels a little markety to me. It feels like a marketing word. It feels like it could be a little bit of a bubble in terms of just saying like AI.
soon we'll stop talking about it the way we do and it'll just be integrated in our life. That is true. Right now we're still like, you die. But I think a lot of people don't even really realize how fast and how big it's going to be. I mean, this is almost like an old trope at this point, but I think a lot of people are like, wait, this isn't what we wanted the robots to do. We didn't want the robots to make our art. We didn't want them to write our email copy. We wanted the robots to fold our laundry because we have this shiny AI thing that is so obviously not human. Can that make us more human? Social media has screwed us up. Like, I hate it. I'm on it a little bit, but I hate it. It makes me sad. I cannot believe how performative our culture is. Like, I think we've come so far from like what makes us who we are, and maybe having this very stark contrast of artificial intelligence, it can help us become more human. We can figure out a way to do that that doesn't hurt too many people.
No, and I think that's a key word there. It's artificial intelligence.
Yes.
We should start using that more. It's not real.
People say it might become real, but right now.
Oh, man. This feels like it was a great conversation.
Yes, this was a great conversation.
So anything else like you want to say about Real Human, or tell us about something that's coming up next? Or
I think that was great and that felt natural, and I'm excited. I feel like you are such a great poster child is such a terrible word, but I think that through this podcast, I'm excited to listen to you talk to other people. It is very timely to just be able to sit down with people and talk about AI and fears and what is humanity and how do people connect and experiment in this world. And I'm excited, man. I think this is going to be a cool podcast. So thanks for having me on as your first guest.
It's been a pleasure. Leora Katz.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you so much. I look forward to checking out Real Human. Where do we look at Real Human again? If people want to try it, can they try it somewhere?
Yeah, of course. Just go to realhuman.io. You can create your podcast. You can sign up. You get your first episode for free. So you can do that and start inviting guests. Or if you don't want to start your podcast just yet, you're just like, I want to know what it's like to talk to Sam. Just press the try Sam button and you can just have a little chat and see what the AI experience is like.
Leora Katz, co-founder of the Real Human Project. Thank you again for coming to chat on You Me and the GPT, this first episode. This is a fun, weird experiment and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Leora. Here's what stuck with me most. Maybe the point of AI isn't efficiency. Maybe the point is contrast. A clear reminder of what machines can't do. They don't grieve. They don't hesitate. They don't love. That's our edge as humans. And it might be the thing that saves us. So if we remember how to listen, if we use these tools to invite honesty, to create space, to get a little weird again, try talking to Sam at realhuman.io. It's free and honestly, it's kind of beautiful. Share this episode with someone who builds things and ask them, are you building tools or building trust? Because the future isn't just artificial intelligence, it's real human connection. And we need that now more than ever.
And the GPT.
You, me, and the GPT. You, me, and the GPT.
You, me, and the GPT. Bye-bye.